My grandmother, she always said, a banana a day keeps the doctor away. She didn't like apples. But I think she has a point. If I look at my grandmother, she was one of the few people that I know who really like change. You know, most people, they have a little bit resistance if change is happening. We already saw it with the mobile phones. I felt some resistance when you had to give your phone to your neighbor. But she not. She liked change. And she said, Cyriel, life is like a banana. It's never a straight line. I think, okay, yes, she has a point there. It's true. Sometimes in life you have a plan, you have a dream, you want to go in a direction, but then suddenly something happens. A problem. Ooh, somebody can fall over this banana peel. So how are we going to solve this? Maybe I can imagine that I'm one of yours and you see this in your own company. You think, hey, let's solve this problem. Let's pick it up. Oh, human resources. Excuse me, what are you doing there? Picking up the banana peel? Yeah, but is this in your job description? You know, we're going to send you to a training. It's 2 weeks, the banana pick training, and after the 2 weeks, you have a permit and you can do what you want. Okay. 2 weeks later, yes, I have my permit. Oh, communication department. Excuse me, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm going to pick the banana and I have a certificate to pick it up. Yeah, but do you know, how are you going to communicate about this problem? You know, with fake news and things around, are you going to tweet? You know what we're going to do? We have something special. You can go to our website, download a communication plan. We help you with how you can tweet it. You have to use our logo, the right one. And then if you have the right font, maybe you can use it. Okay. 2 weeks later, yes, finally. Oh, CEO, management team. We have heard that there is a big problem here in this company. You know, we'll take over from here. We are going to create a multidisciplinary team. We hire some expensive consultants, and then we will have a solution. 3 months later, 200 pages, and the summary is a letter. We hire a few engineers, because we need to put the letter exactly like this. This will be the solution. And then there are a few people in the company who think, is this really working? You know, and then one of them is going to try slowly. You know, you get also a brochure from health and safety, how you should climb a ladder. Yeah, this is the difficult part. Yes. And I get to the other side. What happens, what I see in many companies, is that moment they say, hey, it's working. You didn't fall over the banana peel. This is the new rule, the new system, the new way of working. If you see a problem like a banana peel, this is the way how you solve it. In the beginning, people are a little bit, you know, they have some resistance and it's hard, but if you've done this, you know, a few times, if you've done this 10, 20 times, it gets easier and easier, you know, and people still complain a little bit about it, but then it's fine. Now, at the same moment, it takes around 30 days, then banana peel has been rotten away, ladder is still there. And that's what I'm seeing in a lot of companies. And then you get situations like this. The ladder has become the bottleneck. So a ladder for me is a system that we've brought up with the right intentions, but it's not working anymore. You know, why? Because the world has changed. You know, we have a new president, we have new social media, we have new competitors. So what happens is that the ladder has become a bottleneck, but people keep on walking it and spending quite a lot of time on those ladders. Now, just to be sure, because I'm here in front of 600-700 communication professionals, it might be a bit dangerous because, you know, if I'm communicating, you know what's behind it. So I start with a disclaimer. So I'm safe now, disclaimer is done. What I see in quite a lot of companies are situations like this. And if we don't have any structure, I absolutely agree, we go to chaos. You know, it would be chaos if you don't have any rules, no procedures. I think what we need, and a lot of times the first rules and procedures that we come up with, they are common sense. They're quite interesting. Let's use it. If you cross a street, hey, it might be interesting to look left, right, left to see if nobody is coming. But what I've seen in many companies is this situation. We've created so many rules and systems and nobody knows what's happening, and it's getting too complex, too much control. Look each other in the eyes. The theme of today is collaboration. Trusting each other, helping each other. You know, we're so afraid that maybe, you know, with this exercise, if Karen would have announced it in advance, hey, you have to switch your cell phone, probably a lot of people would have signed, hey, I need a certificate or something that I get my mobile back. No, maybe we just have to trust each other as people. And what I see is next to the ladders that we've created in our own companies, we've also built up a lot of ladders in our own heads. All kind of assumptions that we take for granted, but maybe some of them, maybe we have to switch them. Certainly in times of change that's happening now. Little exercise. Can you read this text for me? I think that most people, even if English isn't your first language, that you can read it quite well. And it's quite amazing, you know, that our brain can do stuff like this. Now, I think that most of you have made some assumptions, that you've read, this presentation at ECS can damage your existing thinking patterns, and so on. That's not on this slide, that's your imagination. On this slide is, this presentation at ECS can damage, that's on the slide. But what happens, we see something, we say, oh, probably it will be this. You know, you get an email from a colleague, and within a fraction of a second, you've already decided, probably there's a problem like this, and we do this solution. I have one other short exercise. I'm going to check if people in communication, if you can count a little bit. Yeah? I'm going to give you a sum, and you as a group, you give me the answer. So for example, I ask you, 15 plus 5 is? Well, it can be a bit faster and a bit more energetic, I think. 13 plus 4 is? Okay. 1,000 plus 40 is? Plus 1,000? Plus 30? Plus 1,000? Plus 20? Plus 1,000? Plus 10? 4,090 plus 10. Okay, Herbert, everything with EACD is going well with figures, and I'm a little bit afraid. I hope that your accountant got it right. But what happened? I brought you on a ladder. 1,000 plus 10, 1,000 plus 10. What happens in your brain? Yeah, when is the break? You know, and your brain is already processing other stuff. It's thinking about emails that you still have to do. The party of tonight. Why? Because our brain is going fast. This is the way how our brain works. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it's fine. 95% of the time, trust your logical thinking. Trust your experience, trust the procedures that you have, trust the things that you do. But in 5%, we live in times where there is a lot of disruption. Hey, you want to reach out to a new target group. If the logical way is not working, maybe we have to try something else. Maybe we have to look from a different perspective to it. And that's where what I call the yes and act mindset comes in. What's yes and act mindset? A very simple model. I'm a simple guy, so I like things are very simple. But 3 words, and if you remember those 3 words, I assure you that your creativity, innovation, ability to be agile will triple. And I'll explain you why. What I see, if you look at the world of today, and I'm very happy we already got some of the clues this morning, the world is quite complex. And what I've done, I had the chance to have a chat with 10 of you in advance. I got a few names from the organization, and they've sent out an email, hey, what are the big challenges that are happening in the world of communication? And I got a lot of things back. You have a lot of challenges. Maybe you can't read them all, but these were the elements that those people gave back, and I hope that you recognize some of them. Now, I've selected a few. There were a few that popped up 3, 4, 5 times. One of them was, hey, one of the challenges of the next year will be integrated communication. You know, we have so many stakeholders, we have so many platforms, we have to send something out via tweet, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or normal communication to our employees. How are we going to keep up with that? And, you know, staying authentic and be real. The cross-functional, you know, that's probably going even to become more. You know, more and more platforms will come. Are you still ready to cope with it? Or do we need new people? You know, and that's also one of the next ones. Do we need new people who know those technologies? Still the business. Are we still connected enough with the business? You know, still a lot of companies have to fight to say, hey, but communication is important. Hey, maybe we have to see, hey, what can we do to make sure that business can't do anything without us? You know, we have to connect to the business even more. And for that, we need dedicated people who know our stuff. And one of the last ones was indeed, hey, the ability to anticipate, ability to make sure if new things are happening, how can we cope with it? What I see in the world is if I compare the world with a sea, then every wave would be a new change. So it could be a new technology, new competitor, new social platform. Sometimes the sea is quite flat. Sometimes we have tsunamis. And I have a feeling that in a lot of industries, more and more tsunamis, more and more disruption is happening. And I'm not going to explain you, probably you've all heard of the word VUCA, you know, new times, new words, new language. The VUCA world makes it all complex. And if I would summarize it, the world we're living in today, I would say, people, it's crazy out there. You know, a lot of things are happening, and how are you going to cope with it? What I see is that people react in 2 ways. And this is about the mindset. I see some people, they are a bit stuck on as a shipwreck survivor. You know, they have a piece of wood, a ladder, I hope it is a wooden ladder, and they are on here and they say, I can't do anything. We can't stop the waves. You can say, hey, but I don't like Facebook, we're not going to do anything with it. Hey, but if the audience likes it, maybe you have to do something with it. So they feel quite reactive. I don't have alternatives, I can't do anything else. And a feeling, yeah, I'm not going to take any risk because I can fall into the water. If you are in this mindset, life is not so nice for you at this moment, I think, because so many things are happening. What you could do is say, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to take some surfing lessons. Same waves, but this time you decide, hey, which way am I going? You can choose proactively, are we going to take this new technology on board? Do you say yes? You can say, hey, we're thinking alternatives. What are competitors doing? Are we going to the left? Are we going to the right? But you don't know if there are people here who took some surfing lessons before. You have to take some risks. If you want to learn to surf, if you want to learn to be able to be agile, you have to take some risk, and sometimes you will fall into the water. That's part of it. And I would like to share a short personal story, how this yes and act mindset worked for me. So I studied economics. I've been working in the domain of creativity innovation for the last 15 years. I did a lot of training, did a lot of facilitating, and 5 years ago, I had a dream. I was thinking, wow, I love to speak for a large international audience. I want to become a professional speaker. And then I was thinking, I live in Belgium, in Antwerp. Belgium is quite small. I think, if you want to earn a living with it, it might be a challenge. So we have to think a bit further. The Netherlands, okay, Netherlands, still quite small. Maybe even further. I was thinking, what could be my biggest dream? And I thought, what's the furthest country in the world where I can give a presentation? Because then my international dream would be a lot easier. And I thought, hey, wait a minute, New Zealand, it's quite at the other side of Belgium. I thought, if I can give a presentation in Belgium and in New Zealand, then my international plan is easy because all the other countries are in between. That was my reasoning. Little problem, I didn't know anybody in New Zealand. I had one friend, he traveled for 2 weeks to New Zealand as a tourist, and he asked him, hey, help me, I'm going to New Zealand. Cyriel, when you go to Auckland, you have to go to the Belgian beer cafe. Okay, so far my connections. I was thinking, hey, alternatives, not alternative facts, but where can I find alternatives to get there? Hey, LinkedIn. Wait a minute, I can type in New Zealand and the words creativity, innovation, and then you get a list of thousands of people who have that in their profile. I took the first 10, thought those are probably the most relevant ones, and I've sent a personal email to those people. Hello, I'm Cyriel from Belgium, I'm a creativity expert. I'm coming to New Zealand. Can we have a coffee or a beer? What happened? 5 people replied. They replied. I had some Skype calls with a few of them. 2 jobs came out of it. So suddenly from scratch, I don't know anybody in New Zealand, suddenly I'm working at the other side of the world. Since then, I've been back to New Zealand already 6 times. I've traveled to 23 different countries. I'm really living my dream. And I know a lot of people come to me and say, but Cyriel, you're so lucky. And I say, yes. And I'm not sitting, on my shipwreck survivor mindset. I hope that somebody is going to call from a different country. No, I took action. I did something. I tried something. And that's yes and act. I'll explain it to you quickly. The yes. The yes stands for suspend your judgment, dare to dream big. It's a little bit like this cartoon. Mother chicken has had her egg. That's what she knows. That's the safe zone. At one moment, little chick comes out. First thing the mother chicken is saying, now look what you've done. Immediately judgment about what's wrong. We human beings are exactly like mother chicken. What we do is what I call idea killers. All kind of expressions that we use to kill an idea. So somebody comes with, hey, maybe we have to try this or this. Yes, but, and now a little bit interaction. The people who are sitting to my right, so to the left, really at the side, there are some beer coasters that you can grab, and I'm going to ask you to grab them and give the whole stack to that side. You can leave the beer coaster that side, but those ones you can grab it, or it's under the chair. And the people in the back, I think it's this row, it's not really at the side. So grab under your chair, the people sitting next to the hallway. Yeah, everybody, because there are some beer coasters in there. Yeah. Help each other, it's about collaboration. I didn't know that you were sitting so far, so it might be that you can't find them upstairs, but there are absolutely enough here. And if you don't have one, I'll brought some extra so you can pick one up a bit later. Yeah. A little exercise that I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you that you, in a minute, you stand up and you form a pair with the person in front or at the back of you. So chances are quite big, that's also a pattern, that you're sitting next to somebody that you already know. That's safe. No, this is also a networking event. So I ask you to get up, form a pair with the person in the front of the back of you. And then I'm going to ask you that the person with the shortest hair is going to start. Yeah, in your pair. In some cases it's quite easy, some cases a bit harder. And what are we going to do? We want to, you're responsible to write, to come up with a brilliant plan or a brochure or something about this event. So you're responsible to communicate about this event after the event. So what you're going to do, the person with the shortest hair is giving a suggestion. Is maybe saying, hey, maybe we can ask all the photographers to make a lot of pictures so people are collaborating. The other person is answering with, this exercise, yes, but how do we do this with privacy? That's quite hard, I don't know. And then that person comes with a new idea. Then you say, hey, but we could interview a lot of people and ask, what did you think about this conference? And then the other person answers, yes, but interviewing is so boring, you know. So the exercise is you try to come up with something creative to capture this event. Person with the shortest hair give an idea, other person answer with yes, but, an excuse, and a new one. Yeah? Form a pair, 1 minute, the yes, but. Get up and do it. Okay. You can stop for a moment. All right, you can stop for a moment. Shh. Attention, attention, stay where you are. Stay where you are. You can keep the lights on, that's fine. Stay where you are. If we would ask you now, hey, how is it going? Do you like it? What I get back most of the time is that people say, you know, after a while, if we would do this exercise for 5 minutes, probably you would say, forget it, you know, it's not going to happen. People recognize, are most of the time quite good in coming up with the idea killers. They're not so good in coming up with new ideas. What are we going to do now? This time, we switch to the green side. We go to the green side, idea boosters, same pairs. This time the person with the longest hair is going to start. I know that you have a party tonight, and we are going to create the biggest party ever. That's the plan. Person with the longest hair is saying, hey, let's get all together and we all drink 3 bottles of wine. And even if you don't drink alcohol, you say, yes. And then we drink 10 beers. Yes. And then we go to Brussels and we have a big party there. Yes. And then we do a flash mob with everybody. Yes. And we prolong the event for 4 days and stay on partying. You have all the time, you have all the money, you can do whatever you want, but you have to say yes and. 1 minute, the biggest party ever. Good luck. Just to show you, I go on until... Okay. You can sit down again. You can find your seat. If I would ask you this time, hey, how is it going? What I see, or at least what I hear, volume is going up. I see a lot more smiling faces. What we've done, we've changed one word. We went from a yes but to a yes and. And I think this is one of the most important elements if you talk about creativity and change. And I give you a method how you can use this, because you think it's just a beer coaster. I think this is worth at least a few thousands of euros. So if you didn't get a beer coaster, come and grab one during the break. I'll help you how you can use it and to make it worth thousands of euros. Your next meeting, you have a meeting, say that you have 10 agenda points. Please, 9 of them, use your logical thinking. Use your experience. Use the procedures that you already know and have. So do what you normally do. But the chances are big that there is one element, one agenda point where you could use some creative ideas. At that moment, what you do, you take the beer coaster, you put it in the middle of the table and you explain, hey, I met a crazy Belgian guy and he has challenged us to do something with the 3-minute rule. What's the 3-minute rule? For 3 minutes on that agenda point, no judgment, everything is possible, you have all the time, you have all the money, you can do whatever you want. If there is somebody who is saying, yeah, Cyriel, we already tried it, you can take the beer coaster, red card. What does it mean? Not that that person can leave the meeting. You know, maybe you think it don't have to be. No, you killed one idea, you have to come up with 2 new ones. That's a punishment. So, yeah, we already tried it. Oh, but maybe we can do this or we can do this. After 3 minutes, you say, okay, we've brainstormed enough. Let's have a look at all the crazy stuff that we gathered, and are there elements that we can use? You know, for example, your crazy party, I can imagine that some of the elements are really cool, but probably you're not going to do all of them, but you say, hey, wait a minute, I'm not going to drink 3 bottles of wine, that's maybe a little bit too much, but I'm going to try a wine that I've never tasted before. And what you do is you take little parts of the big idea, and I'm sure that after the 3 minutes you will have some valuable insights and elements from why. Why haven't we tried this before? Because we never allow ourselves to give ourselves 3 minutes of thinking time. I also invite you, keep the beer coaster with you during the whole event, because sometimes you're listening to a speaker and immediately your thoughts are, hey, but this is not relevant for me. Wait a minute, you know, suspend your judgment. Maybe there's something in there that can be valuable, that can be interesting. Combine that with what I call dream big. I studied economics, so I absolutely believe that we need plans, we need to be realistic, but what I've seen a lot of times is people have a dream, they have a plan, and they immediately make it smart. Immediately it has to be realistic, we can't fail. So what happens, the big dream becomes a very small plan, a lot of times with a lot of pages. What my suggestion is, hey, next to the smart and realistic plans, can we also have a dream? Can we have a big dream? And then, you know, make it huge. That's a dream, maybe we're not going to realize it, but this is what gives people energy. Hey, we as EACD, we're becoming the biggest, you know, association ever. I don't know if that's an ambition, but if you go for a dream like that, you start to think in a different way. Sometimes people come to me, yeah, but Cyriel, if you dream really big, you can fall very high. That's true, but this is still a thinking exercise. If we already make it small in our thinking, implementation will even be smaller. So for that reason, I come up with a giga dream. What's a giga dream? You have unlimited budget, you have all the time, and maximum support. You can do whatever you want, and ask yourself the question, hey, what are you willing to struggle for? What is the effort, what are the efforts that you want to do to reach your dream? Because everybody wants to be rich and famous, but hey, what are you willing to sacrifice? And can you have that dream next to all the plans that we have? Second thing, and. What's the and? The and stands for, hey, look at the world from a different perspective. And I think certainly, again, in the communication world, this is also a little bit your role. Show different, and I'm not talking about alternative facts, but look at something and look at the proof, but sometimes you can look from different perspectives to see and discover something different. Little exercise. If I ask you which symbol doesn't belong in this row, you can just shout it. F. Why the F? Yeah, it's not a vowel. Yeah, that's the correct answer. Yeah, it's the F. Did somebody add something else or the U? Why the U? It's the only one that's round. That's correct. The U. That's the correct answer. I think it's the first thing. That first symbol. Give me a reason why doesn't this first symbol doesn't belong here. Suspend your judgment. It's the only one with a closed loop. It's the only one that's standing on 2 legs. It's the only one. I think that with most of you, you're still in the assumption that these are letters of the alphabet. It's your own assumption. I didn't say it. But if you look at the world and you say, letters of the alphabet, F, 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 your only reality is that you see the F. In communication, I think it's a part of your job to say, hey, but wait a minute, from which perspective are you looking? And then suddenly, a lot more alternatives are possible. It's not just one anymore. Hey, wait a minute, this could be interesting. I show you a very short movie. It's 5 seconds, but I think this is the essence of looking from a different perspective to the world. Do you look at the world and do you see this? No. Or do you dare to look from a different perspective? People, we have a problem. We have a problem. We have an opportunity. You're looking at exactly the same thing. How do you look at the world? You know, well, what's happening? Can we do something? Maybe the whole thing about the alternative facts, we could say, hey, that's a big problem in our industry. Hey, could it also be could be an opportunity? Could we make sure if we can show our quality that they start to respect us more? Hey, can we, and I don't know if it's true, I'm just brainstorming, but sometimes if we dare to look from a different perspective, we might use it in a positive way. And then suddenly the big problem that we have could be a good thing. And that is something that has to do with look from a different perspective. I've looked for a few examples in your area that I found quite interesting, and that's happening right now in terms of technology. This thing, little ears, they are coming out in September, October. Those are translating earphones that immediately translates language in 15 languages. So if somebody is here who speaks French, I speak Dutch, we both take one of the earphones, I just talk in Dutch, and that person, real time, with a fraction of a second difference, hears it in French. This is happening. What will happen with the communication? You know, this is, I think, quite a big thing, and probably this is the first one, but give it 1 or 2 years, language problems, no. Just plug something in and life might be a lot easier. It could also be a challenge for a lot of people. This is also something that I found quite interesting, influential. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a kind of platform where they use artificial intelligence. And what they've done, they've selected the top 1% of influencers. People who have a lot of followers on Twitter, Instagram, and those kind of people. What they've done, the 1%, they have in total, if you bring them together, 5 billion, I'm not exaggerating, 5 billion people are following that 1%. And then what you can do, you can say, hey, I have a message, it has to go with some humor, has to go to the millennials, it's about a movie. And then what they do, you can send out a branded message to those influencers. They send it out, your message, and you will reach 100,000 people, 1 million, millions. This is out there. This is using the big data. This is using the big things. And the last one, I found it quite funny. In Japan, we already talked about the smartphones. You now have toilet paper for your smartphone. Apparently, there are 5 times more germs on a smartphone than on the toilet seat. So what they've done, you can get it, and again, you can put some information on there. When you are communicating, use the "and" to look from how are we going to communicate it. What I see when I was working for some larger corporations, a lot of times it's still the email, it's still a brochure, it's paper. No, do something like this. You know, the mission of a company, put it on toilet paper. People will have some jokes, but at least everybody will have read it. Try to use and think a little bit more like this. And I come to the last part. The ACT, what's the ACT? The ACT stands for, hey people, get into action, experiment. We are very good in this, creating plans, making new plans. But then, you have your plan, communication plan, you've worked 4 months, this is what we're going to do in 2018, and then 2018 starts. This is February. The boss wants to go in a different direction. Then the clients want that you don't communicate via Facebook, it has to be LinkedIn. Do you recognize this? You make a plan, but you have to change your plan all the time. My question is, why are you spending 4 months on creating a perfect communication plan if you know that you have to throw it away after 2 months? Maybe you have to build a more robust plan, spend 2 weeks on it, and then make sure that everybody is agile, that you can look, hey, how do we work with it? I talked about the Giga Dream. This is the opposite, nano action. What is a nano action? You have only 10 euros or $10, and you have 1 hour. The biggest idea killer that I come across is we don't have budget, we don't have time. If somebody in your company has an idea, say, hey, what would be the nano action? What would be the nano version of your idea? What's the first step that you can take within 48 hours to see if something has potential or not? This is what they're doing in the IT sector, the whole Scrum, Agile, Lean thinking. But you can perfectly apply it to other things. Instead of spending lots of time and money on trying something, call 3 clients and see if the communication is working or not, and then build on. Short example, my Giga Dream, I want to give presentation in New Zealand. I can assure you, takes a lot of time and costs a lot of money. My nano action, hey, I'm going to send out 10 emails and see if I get a reaction. If those 10 people would have said, Cyriel, we have enough of those creative weirdos in New Zealand, stay home, I would have learned something, I wouldn't have done the big investment. No, I've learned something. Hey, there is an interest. Maybe I would have adapted my plan, if it wouldn't have any reaction, it would have looked for a different perspective. But this is how a nano action works. And then the last part, and this time it's to the people to my left side, at the right. Again, you see some beer coasters. Again, it's the line in the hallway, the people at the back. You also have some beer coasters under your seat. So please grab them and give them to the other side. That would be great. Because I'm going to explain you what's a nearling. And at this moment, probably you think, Cyriel, your English is not so good. A nearling? What's a nearling? You get a beer coaster with some extra information on it. And again, it's about collaboration, so make sure that everybody gets a card. A nearling is something that you did with the right intentions, which has not yet led to the right results. A lot of times, we human beings, we think quite binary. We do something and it works. We call it a success. We do something doesn't work. We call it a failure. The whole area in between, the 0.1, the 0.3, the 0.9, that's nearling. And you should be proud of your nearlings. Why? At least you started an initiative. You can sit behind your desk, follow all the ladders, and I do my job. But if you don't learn anything new, I would fire you. I sometimes do it in a company. When I give an in-company presentation, everybody get a beer coaster, and I say, if you haven't handed in this beer coaster within 3 months to your boss, I would fire you. And then whoa, why? Because apparently for 3 months you just sat down and you followed all the ladders, but you didn't learn something new. You have to learn something from it. If you have 3 times the same nearling, I would call it a failure. Maybe you've moved others and led to something else that was successful. And in life, we need a lot of nearlings for a few successes. So these are the things. It's not rocket science, but a belief that the simple things, that they work. Yes, suspend your judgment and look from a different perspective to the world, act, get into action, and then I'm sure that a lot of things might happen. I have a little present for you. I'm very happy to share my slides. They will also come on the link that you will get from the organization. But if you want them, I also have a page with some cool stuff. That's all kind of the poster with ID killers, some cartoons, and I have some nice YouTube movies. And what I'll do, I have, this is my latest book. I will give away 40 books. 20 real books, 20 ebooks. I have a little stand next to the info point. If you come there, drop me a card. I'm not going to spam you. I'm very lazy. I send out 3 newsletters a year. But if you're interested, drop a card or something, and what I'll do, tonight, before the last keynote, I will draw 20 people or 40 people who will win one of those books. And you can pick it up tonight or tomorrow. So that's a little gift from me. And my last words, people, I believe that we can change the world. It all starts here with a mindset. And I don't know if you've seen my name, Cyriel Kortleven. Kortleven, if you would translate it in English, Kort means short. Leven means life, so my name would be Cyriel Short Life. So since the moment I was born, every day I've been reminded that life is short. So you better imagine a giga dream that you want to realize. I would say yes and. Take some nano steps, slowly. Sometimes in life, it might be a nearling that it doesn't work. At that moment, see if you can find an alternative route. And then, at the end, if you realize your dream, eternal happiness, wealth and love, or at least a step in a good direction. Thank you.